From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine. Glad you are with us tonight. We're talking about something we don't talk about that often, even though we're in Nashville. We're talking about the music industry, the recording industry, and the gender gap that exists. Some new studies have come out just recently that kind of looked at the number of women that are in making music, both producing and writing and singing, and there's a big gender gap. And we're going to talk about that. There is also an organization, or the founders of New Roots. We did a story on them, and they are putting together something to try and help more women get into the music industry. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Happy to have with us via Zoom both of our guests. And look how the great lighting and the microphone. This is wonderful. So thank you both. We have Sheridan Gates and Mark Thress. They're founders of New Roots. Thank you both for being here.
Our pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure.
So first of all, and Mark, I guess, explain what is New Roots?
New Roots is founded basically to help empower female artists in the industry, and it's a boutique introduction to the Nashville music scene. So what we do is basically we've created this community of like-minded female artists and allies to the music community to help support and empower developing artists who are entering the music industry and seeing them through the rest of their career.
And Sheridan, why do you think this is so needed?
Oh gosh, well, as an artist myself, I saw firsthand kind of how tricky it was when I first moved to Nashville to make those connections and just not knowing where to begin. And, you know, it can be very intimidating for women in particular who have been widely underrepresented in this industry. And so what Mark and I did is we put our heads together and we said, what can we create that we wish we had when we were new here? And so that's kind of how New Roots was born. And we just want to give these young, not necessarily young, just new, developing female artists a soft place to land when they arrive in Music City.
I'm looking at an article here from Rolling Stone. Women in music dwindled in 2020. Another article, the music industry still has a long way to go for gender equality. So where do things stand right now? I guess there's another report out from USC, right, that talked about the low numbers of women, both producers and singers, all of that. How bad is it? I guess kind of quantify where we are right now. And I'll start with you, Mark, then go to you, Sheridan.
Yeah, I think honestly what it comes down to is just the opportunity and the resources available. What we do at New Roots is, you know, we allow these artists to have conversations and questions and to find answers to things that they might not necessarily feel comfortable asking in the first place, or at least in the typical setting. And obviously me, I don't identify as a female artist, but I, as a supporter and as an ally, you know, I've had the opportunity to sit on some of these conversations and to be able to see what these artists are going through. And I think what's special about this is historically they haven't had the opportunity or the chances or the resources to, you know, rebound these ideas. And so we're really trying to combat that with what we're doing at New Roots.
What have you seen, Sheridan, as far as just the numbers? Kind of how serious a situation is it, in your opinion?
It's still serious. I will say it has gotten better. I think, you know, and there's power in numbers, right? So the more women that band together to advocate for each other and support each other, it's gonna keep getting better. I think there was a statistic out that, you know, only 2%, about 2% of producers are women. You know, only 12% of songwriters are women. And so the way to make that number grow is for women to support other women. I really truly believe that. And so that's why we're here, and I'm so glad to have a male partner in this business, because it's not a battle against, you know, the sexes. It's just how can we grow together and work together to get women in more seats in the music industry.
Yeah, those are the numbers I was looking for. I had them here, and now I don't seem to find them. But those are the numbers: 2% and 12%, and then, you know, all the awards, many are going to men. And yeah, you don't, all right, so it's not a battle of the sexes here. We won't do that. But why do you think it is that the numbers aren't higher? And Sheridan, I'll start with you.
I think a lot of it is that women are not seeing themselves represented in these roles, you know, in the media and TV shows, you know, they're just not seeing themselves. So a lot of, you know, the younger generation is not even knowing that it's a possibility for them to sit behind the engineering booth. You know, they're not seeing themselves as, they don't know that it's possible to write a song, because songwriters in general are pretty underrepresented. So I think a lot of it has to just be, we have to get women out there and in the media, and, you know, showing the world that women can do all the same things, you know.
And not just singers. Yeah, this also did talk about producers and songwriters. And what about that, Mark? I mean, how do you raise those numbers in your opinion?
Well, the representation matters, right? And I think just giving the opportunity to be able to share your voice and your perspective is so important. And the platform to do so, and the relationships and the network and the community to do so is really, really necessary. And I think with those in place, female artists will have the ability to really dig deep into the music and feel like they're represented.
What are you seeing in Nashville? I mean, so what has the pandemic done? Are tons of people just moving here with no real plan? I mean, we've seen all the movies. They move here, they stay in some hotel, and they get a gig at the Bluebird, and then they're you know, that's kind of the thing, right? So are we seeing tons of people move here with a dream and a prayer, or not? I mean, what are we seeing now, and what impact has the pandemic had on the people coming to Nashville hoping to make it? And I'll start with you, Mark, and then Sheridan.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because I think it's changed a little bit. I think, you know, the wonder and the mystique was there pre-pandemic, and then now you have this opportunity. It's like, okay, do I really go for it? Do I really invest all of my time, energy, and my life into doing this, or is there an alternative? And I think what you're getting now is you're getting these people that are like, darn if I'm not determined to do this, you know, I'm going to figure this out. And I think initially we had this idea that coming to Nashville, you know, there's this glory of, oh, I want a record deal, or I want to be with a label, and so on and so forth. But I think people are realizing that there's more to just coming here and being famous from playing at the Bluebird, or, you know, the Listening Room, or something like that. You know, there's more to it, and there's more involved. The pandemic certainly had affected all of this, and I think it gave us more opportunity to collaborate virtually and really hone in our writing skills and all those kinds of things. So from what I've seen personally, I think a lot of people, Sheridan included, have spent some time songwriting and networking and communicating behind the scenes and preparing for, you know, that moment when things start to open up and it's really time to go.
And Sheridan, yeah, you can add to that. And I think, yeah, what's your background and what brought you to this New Roots?
Yeah, I'm an artist and songwriter myself, and obviously during the pandemic, touring shut down. We were kind of stuck at home, and I think myself, like many other people, well, we went through a lot of creative processes, or lack thereof, with the, you know, craziness of being locked inside. But a lot of songs were written, and then as things started to open up, I think people were like, "What do we do with these songs now? I've got a dream. I want to move to Nashville." And so I think, sort of to answer your other question, a lot of girls are moving here with a dream and a bag full of songs, and just don't even know where to start, you know, because this town has a lot of, it's easy to have rose-colored glasses a little bit when you come here. So, and myself included, that was my story. I moved here from, I was in the New York area for a while, came to Nashville with the big dreams of, you know, that were probably not the most realistic. And I had, you know, I knew one person when I moved here, and I'm so grateful to that person, because they slowly connected me, you know, it's spiderweb from there. But imagine if I had moved here and there was a whole network of like-minded women that I could lean on for support, and vice versa. And, you know, when I had questions, I could just go to this program. And so that's kind of, that's why New Roots was created. It's out of what I wish I had when I moved here. So
That's very interesting, and I could see how that would be a huge help. And we're seeing it. I mean, people now, it's kind of like they have decided I'm going to go for it, no matter what it is. I'm not, you know, we're seeing people leave certain jobs, and I know people that are going out to California to try and make it in, you know, maybe movies or whatever. Now is the time for people to really pursue their dreams. So I bet there are a lot of people that have moved here to Nashville, like you said, with a bunch of songs, and so what would be a big mistake that you fear people who move here with a bunch of optimism and maybe even a bunch of talent? Let's just say they have that, but a bunch of optimism, a bunch of talent, but not much else. What's your fear that might happen, and kind of walk us through, I guess, what you would hope would happen? And I'll let you take that, Mark.
Yeah, I think you know, they just come here thinking they could do it all on their own. And I know I did. You know, I had an idea like, you know what, I'm going to figure this out on my own, and I think I understand my music already, and you know, it's really important at this point to open up your horizons and to communicate and to network. And in fact, Sheridan and I mean, we're both really great examples of this. Our network expanded tremendously from all the hard work that we did coming here. And in fact, when I first came down to Nashville, I knew that I needed to meet as many people as possible because, one, I didn't know anything about Nashville, and two, I needed the help. You know, I didn't have a good resource to, you know, ask questions and all that kind of stuff. So I went from, you know, open mic to open mic to open mic, handing out my business card and trying to collaborate with these people and songwrite and all those kinds of things. So I think oftentimes people come to Nashville thinking that, you know, they're going to be able to do it all on their own, and they have to realize that there is a community that's supporting one another. And something special about Nashville that I haven't experienced in LA or New York is that, generally speaking, here in Nashville, we're all willing to help. You know, I was welcomed with open arms, and people were willing to have coffee with me and share their stories and really connect me with other artists. So I think that's something special. And in terms of something you can do as an artist, it's network, network, network.
And I'm interested in that. How do you network? That's very interesting. You said go to open mics and that kind of thing. This is a world, you know, I'm not privy to, and it does fascinate me. I'm fascinated by it. But what would you say? Network, go to open mics. What are open mics? What do you mean by that? And Sheridan, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, I think the version of open mics that you see in Nashville a lot is actually writers' nights. I think perhaps Mark might have been referring to that, and there are open mics, but these writers' nights where you see 4 or 5 songwriters up on a stage and with their guitars, and they kind of each go down the line and share their original music. You know, those are kind of a dime a dozen all over town, and it's a great way for you to start sharing your original music as an artist, but also to just meet other songwriters, because you're hearing their songs, you're hearing what they can do. And so if there's somebody that has a song that, you know, brings you to tears, you know, I'm going to go up to that person afterwards and say, hey, I loved your song. You know, could we grab coffee sometime? I'd love to hear, you know, more about what you're doing. And maybe that leads to a co-writing session. And you know, and I think that also speaks to a mistake that I think a lot of artists make, and I definitely made when I moved here, is that they tend to want to go to the top right away. I want to go meet with, you know, the top person at the record label, or, you know, the head of this publishing company. And while some of them might take your meeting because it's Nashville and people have a wonderful open door policy, the best way to do it is to grow together with people that are on your level, and you rise together, and, you know, you start writing with that person that you met at the writers' night, and they get a publishing deal, and then suddenly you're getting heard by publishers. And, you know, so it's an organic growth that is always gonna lead you to higher and higher places. But if you just shoot for that top person or position right away, it can sometimes be to your detriment.
I could see that. That's very interesting. All right, we have to take a break, but I'm going to take a call. Before we go to break, let's, Hugh, you've been waiting. Are you there, Hugh?
Yes, hey, how you doing?
I'm great. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and good evening to you and your guests. I'm glad this is about female country artists. But one of the things I haven't heard you address yet are some of the female black country music artists that are trying to move their way up and have had struggles along the way, almost compared to the 60s and the racial disparities, I'll put it that way, that African Americans suffer. You've got artists like Brittany Spencer, for one, that's made statements about such things, and other artists like Mickey Guyton and some of the other ones. We've let, black males are certainly moving in, like Jimmy Allen, of course. Darius Rucker's already made his, is a member of the Grand Opry Hall of Fame. But what are you doing to address people of color, specifically black women and also black men? But I know this show is specifically for females. What are you doing to address that as well? And I'll just wait and listen to your response. And thank you.
Appreciate the call. Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, why don't you both take that, and we'll start with you, Mark.
Yeah, so this is actually something that we've thought about a lot, and Sheridan and I are really proud to say that we've been working on a DEI initiative, and we have been very graciously given some financial support to actually provide an artist anywhere in the country with some support to be able to get them here. And that's one of the things that we're working towards, is to be able to provide resources for artists that might not have the ability to utilize all that we have in our community. Doesn't matter who they are, where they came from, but specifically, we're targeting these communities that may need the support. And in our communication, we're looking specifically at African American communities across the country and trying to provide them with opportunities, both financial and obviously New Roots opportunities, to help guide them in their career.
Yeah, and Sheridan, what can you add there? His concern about the lack of diversity, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you, and thank you for that question. It's something that has been weighing heavily on our minds. And like you said, I'm a huge fan of Mickey Guyton, Brittany Spencer.
Love her.
All of these women are just so talented. And all I can speak to, my experience kind of as a consumer and as a fellow consumer of music and as a fellow artist, is that we just need more women from all backgrounds to just come together and push and promote and get their music out there. I think it's, there are some roadblocks that happen that are sometimes out of our control, but what is in our control is we can take really good music and just get behind it as a community. We can share it wherever, on all of our socials. We can continue to advocate for these women, particularly black women that have just been underrepresented from day one in country music. And we're here to provide opportunities for women of all backgrounds, from the beginning. So we can all, like, from the start, when they're right here, first time in Nashville, they've got this community and they're seeing women of all different backgrounds come together and support each other, because it is an issue, and
It is, yeah, definitely. It's an issue. Okay, well, thank you. Okay, that sets the table for our discussion. If you want to call in, question, comment, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.